The Macintosh has everything to do with my job. As far as efficiency, it allows us to help more people in a shorter period of time. All of my salespeople and customer service people have their own Macintosh, which means that in a branch of this size, that I can have 7 or 8 or 10 people assisting 7 or 8 or 10 people at the same time. I think that every corporation has the same concerns and frustrations about communicating with other departments. We have more departments than I care to count, and if we had to wait for memos to go back and forth on paper, or if we had to communicate by phone, we wouldn't be able to do our job, at least not as efficiently, and certainly not be able to provide the service that we're looking for. Electronic mail provides me a means or a mechanism to access other departments. We don't have to make a phone call. We don't have to send a memo. It's all right there in the Macintosh. Electronic mail allows us to communicate to other departments or to any other C-First employee at any time.
At Federal Express, I believe you can go to just about anybody that has a Macintosh sitting on their desk, and they'll tell you that that Macintosh is doing the work of 2 or sometimes 3 people. You can put a brand new person down with a brand new Macintosh, and in 1 week's time, he's productive on it. You could be working in a graphics program and quite easily flip over to a word processing program, import or export information from a database, or even go to a mainframe application and gather information and go back to your original document, all within the same screen by just clicking the mouse. If you remove those Macintoshes from Federal Express today, the work and the productivity and the credibility that is being maintained in each department would quite literally cease to exist.
The AppleTalk network system takes the simplicity and elegance of the Macintosh user interface and extends it into networking. The part of the Macintosh user interface which gives uniform access to network services is called the chooser. You access the chooser via the Apple menu. It shows all of the network peripherals available to you as icons that stand for such things as printers, file servers, fax modems, electronic mail servers, network modems, and wide area network servers. This graphic illustrates the network we have access to so far. When the local talk cable is plugged in, all network zones and network peripherals are listed in the chooser. To access a printer, just click on the printer icon, select the zone where that printer is located, and click on the name of the printer. And it doesn't need to be an Apple printer. You can use this same method to access a wide range of third-party printers. You can select a file server in much the same way. Just click on the file server icon and the file servers available to you are immediately displayed. You log on to the server with a password entry and a couple of mouse clicks. Once the file server volume is mounted, it appears as a storage volume on your Macintosh desktop and behaves the same way. Double-clicking on the server volume presents the user with a window displaying its contents using an extended form of the Macintosh user interface. Here, the upper window pertains to the local hard disk and the lower window is for the file server. To transfer a file from a local hard drive, you merely drag it to the file server and it automatically copies across the network. Folders that are all wide indicate full access privileges. You can look at and even change anything that's contained within it. But this gray folder is one I don't have access privileges to. When I try to select it, I'm told I don't have permission. The folders that are gray with an arrow pointing to them indicate that you can put things into them but can't look at the contents. For example, this folder belongs to someone else. I can share a file with the owner by dragging it into his Dropbox folder, but I'm not allowed to read it. On the Macintosh, accessing information on the network is just as easy as accessing information locally. That's why with Macintosh, it's so easy for users to make use of network resources. But networking on the Macintosh is not only easy for the user, it's also very straightforward for the network administrator. For instance, installing printer drivers and client software for network peripherals on the Macintosh is as simple as dragging a software icon into the system folder of your startup disk. And Apple printer drivers as well as the Apple Share client software are included with the system software when you purchase your Macintosh. All major LAN vendors support the AppleTalk filing protocol. Because of this, there's no need to install additional client software or for the user to learn new file server interfaces. You access third-party servers in the same way that you access Apple Share on a Macintosh, through the chooser interface. For example, we can mount a Novell NetWare server by going into the chooser, clicking on the Apple Share icon, and selecting the proper zone, clicking on the name of the server, and then going through the simple login process. And there it is, an icon on our desktop representing the NetWare server. This graphic shows that we've added Ethernet and a Novell NetWare server to the network. Double-clicking on the Novell server displays its contents in a Macintosh window. DOS files are labeled clearly as DOS icons. All access privileges are indicated by the very same conventions we discussed earlier. We can also mount 3+ Open LAN Manager from 3Com Corporation using the very same method. And a Unix server. This one's from Information Presentation Technologies, and it's called UShare. UShare supports all major Unix platforms from such vendors as Sun Microsystems, MIPS, and Sony. We can even mount a VAX mini computer as a server. This one is from Elisa Systems. It's called Elisa Share, and it runs AppleTalk for VMS protocols. Double-clicking on the VAX icon shows us some Macintosh files right along next to VMS files in their iconic format. Access privileges are again indicated by the very same conventions we use with Apple Share on a Macintosh. Now our network graphic shows that we've added the 3Com, UShare, and Elisa Share servers to the network. Of course, we're not suggesting that you have such a wide variety of file servers on your network. We merely want to show you that file service is both easily accessed and viewed in the same consistent manner with the Macintosh, no matter which server you choose. Fox-based Mac allows Macintosh users to launch DBase 3 applications from their original DOS format without modification. Here we show the files listed by name. The files reside on an Apple Share server. Clicking on the file instructs Macintosh to mount the data file using the Foxbase application program, which resides on the local hard disk. In Foxbase, there are 10 work areas indicated by the circular shapes which each represent access to a particular data file. To run an application in Foxbase Mac, you pull down the Do command and select the application you wish to run. The application we've just selected happens to be the one that was created for use on DOS machines. As you can see, the DBase application appears the way it would be on an IBM-compatible computer with its character-oriented interface. We can browse through the database and do anything we could on a PC. And we also get to navigate through the data using the mouse. But with the Macintosh, we can take that same database application and enhance its user-friendliness and its visual appeal. Here's the very same application with a Macintosh interface. So introducing a Macintosh into an IBM-compatible environment means that Macintosh users can share existing data. And it also means existing DBase applications can be made more user-friendly for Macintosh users.
Codex is a networking solution company. We sell products to multinational customers throughout the world. And the reason why our network is so important to us is to operate in a multinational environment requires fast communications to Europe, to Asia, to the United States, Canada, to every place that we have a presence. And this network allows us to do that. Our network is composed of Apple Macintosh SEs, Mac 2s, network using AppleTalk, and we have worldwide networks that connect all of these AppleTalk local area networks together. We're connecting to our IBM mainframes here in Canton, as well as DEC mini computers.
One of the real benefits of the network is the fact that we can apply technical expertise in any area, regardless of geography. The network allows us to bring that person's expertise to bear on a problem. He can be in Boston here and be working on a problem with a coworker out in California. Now they can communicate across the Apple network, exchange network diagrams in a very timely manner, and exchange the actual proposal that they're working on in a very timely manner. To be able to work on the same document in two parts of the country at the same time really helps out in this whole proposal generation process.
In many networks that I've seen using Macintoshes, you would pull up Chooser and see the accounting department, payroll department, manufacturing. You pull up our Chooser, you'll see Brussels, Paris, United Kingdom, Hong Kong, Israel. We can just click on a country and communicate documents directly and have it printed on a laser printer in that country.
The field is amazed when the network is first installed that they can all of a sudden do things that they always wanted to do, that they can now talk to people. They don't play telephone tag for a half a day. They can talk within their own areas and regions. They can talk to headquarters. They can talk to the international offices. Really, the entire corporation is at their disposal.
And our ultimate objective is to be able to have any piece of information that's available to anyone in any location to be available to any other person in the company. In order to do business in a multinational environment on a worldwide basis, this is a business imperative.
Dan and Terry work in the sales operations division of a large company. They use an AppleTalk local area network, and even though they use different computers, they share software and data resources on an Apple Share file server. Terry uses a Compaq 386, Dan a Macintosh 2CX. Dan begins his afternoon by checking his electronic mail from the Macintosh. Dan pulls down the Apple menu, selects the Microsoft Mail desk accessory, and enters his password. Instantly, any messages that have been sent to him are listed on the screen. This message, which Dan opens by double-clicking on the listing, is from his boss, Bill, who's asked for a report on company-wide sales performance for a meeting just a couple of hours away. Dan and Terry take a division of labor approach to the project. A key component of their network resources is a database application stored on the Apple Share server that was developed using Omnis 5 from Blythe Software. Blythe provides versions of Omnis 5 for PCs running DOS and for Macintosh systems. Dan will start by extracting personnel and sales quota information from the Omnis database using his Macintosh, while Terry extracts sales statistics using her Compaq 386. Terry logs on to the Apple Share server using Apple's Apple Share PC software. Her computer also is equipped with a Local Talk PC card, which enables her to become a part of the Apple Talk network. Terry uses character-based DOS commands to log on and off of the server, but once she launches Omnis 5, her screen will display the application using a graphic interface that resembles that of the Macintosh. Terry queries the database for the sales data and exports a file from Omnis into a format that Microsoft Excel in the Macintosh can read. Now she is ready to send the file to Dan. To send the file to Dan, Terry must exit the Omnis database and enter DOS. Then she opens Microsoft Mail, enters her password, writes her cover memo, specifies the Omnis file she wants to enclose with her cover memo, and issues a send command. Meanwhile, Dan has extracted a file from the Omnis database. He's operating under Multifinder, which has allowed him to launch Omnis, Microsoft Excel, and Word simultaneously, and is now working on the report memo. To retrieve the file Terry has just sent, Dan simply pulls down the File menu from within Microsoft Word and selects the Open Mail command. The data file Terry sent appears in his mailbox. Dan opens it by double-clicking on the file. The next job, consolidate the data from the two spreadsheet files. To do this, Dan runs a macro that the IS department created especially for the type of report he's generating. The macro consolidates data from the two spreadsheet files and creates a table showing sales performance results by sales representative. Using another macro, Dan also constructs a bar graph showing sales performance by region. Dan wants to transfer some of the data from his Excel spreadsheet to his memo, so he copies the data, uses Multifinder to switch to Microsoft Word, clicks the mouse where he wants the table to be pasted, and issues a paste link command. If Dan later decides to change the spreadsheet, he can automatically update the table from within Microsoft Word. He uses the same paste link command to paste a copy of the chart from Excel into his Word document. Dan and Terry have been able to quickly collect and assemble the information they needed for this project, largely because they both have access to the same computer resources and applications, and an easy way to communicate with each other. Now Dan and Terry have a complete draft of the document that's ready for Bill's review. To streamline the review process, Dan prints a draft of his report directly to an electronic document markup center that's stored on the Apple Share server, which Bill can access. To retrieve Bill's comments, Dan launches the markup application and uses dialog boxes to gain password-controlled access to the memo in the Document Review Center. Here's what Bill's comments look like. They're very easy to read. Make a change in the database. Change a caption. Include a photograph of the top salesperson. First, Dan updates the spreadsheet file. Then, by clicking on the Word document, and issuing an update link command, he makes the same change in his memo. The change is instantaneous. There's no need for Dan to recopy and repaste the spreadsheet file. Even the chart can be updated automatically. Finally, the photograph. Dan searches the Omnis database for the appropriate picture. Makes a copy, and again, using Multifinder, clicks on the Microsoft Word document. Then he clicks on the spot where he wants to paste the photograph. Project completed. Dan sends the final draft again from within Microsoft Word to Bill, and sends a copy to Terry. Terry's address appears in a format identical to that of a Macintosh user, even though she uses a 386. Dan simply double-clicks on their names, and their addresses appear in the address box. No typing required. Pacific Power, they've chosen Macintosh personal computers to serve as front ends for a sophisticated executive information system.
The real issue here is one of freedom and ease of use. The ability to get into a network and not care where you are in that network, where that data resides, that freedom is absolutely crucial. Whether he's in electronic mail, into his calendar, into reports that are out on a TSO file somewhere, or into the general ledger system, which is on CICS, or into an IMS file in Salt Lake City. All of those things are accessible.
Pizza Hut is the largest pizza chain in the world. Our sales volume puts us third in the food service industry, just behind McDonald's and Burger King.
In MIS, we like to keep things very simple, and that means we've got one computer platform. By doing that, maintenance is easy, training is easy, this is all there is. However, sometimes there's an overwhelming reason to get another computer platform, and that happened on the Macintosh.
We had people that would not touch a computer. When we got the Mac in, those people got into that computer, and within a day, they were using it, and they weren't afraid of it any longer.
One of the driving factors that has put the Macintosh in the forefront is the ability to use electronic mail.
You have faster communications, you have better quality preparation of data, of graphs, you can do analysis, you can do beautiful charts and graphs if you need them. What it does is gives you a sense that you're going to be able to act.
End-user access to corporate information is not inconsistent with our management philosophy about securing and managing and auditability and so forth. Just because we've increased the number of tools available to the user doesn't mean that we've relinquished any of our manageability of the environment. That's why it's so important for us to have data managed on those systems where we have the appropriate tools and resources to manage them. There's nothing comparable to running DB2 as a database management system because it has all the control mechanisms built in, the audit features built in, and all the access security built into it. I think our value is going to increase as we increase the accessibility and the availability of business data, business information, and business systems. That change is not going to be immediate or rapid, but it'll be gradual. I envision the opportunity for IS to much better exploit the data resource, make it available, make it defined, make it expressed in terms that the user can understand. And most importantly, our challenge is provide the user tools that enable the user to do his own job.
I've logged on to the mainframe where the Sales Management DB2 database resides. I'm using MacDFT and the Apple TwinAx coax card. First, I navigate through ISPF to start up QMF. Now I'll enter a query. Select City, Sales, Year-to-Date, and Quota Year-to-Date from Offices. This is about as simple a query as you can make against a relational database. Of course, to do this properly, we had to know the proper syntax and the correct table and column names, as well as how to type well. Now I'll run the query and get back the results in our QMF panel. Using the Macintosh cut and paste capabilities found in every application, I highlight the data I want on the screen. Then copy it to the Macintosh clipboard. I'll be moving the data to Wings, a graphical spreadsheet for Macintosh, so I use Multifinder to open up Wings. Now I paste the results. Using Wings presentation graphics, I'll make a color graph of the information that I accessed a moment ago in DB2 on the mainframe. Now I can convert it to a three-dimensional bar chart for greater legibility. If you're familiar with host programming, you know how difficult it would be to accomplish this task with host tools. After I connect with DB2 on the mainframe, I'll make a request that's similar to the one we just did in QMF. In Clear Access, the way we do this is quite different. After starting up Clear Access, I select Query. By querying the database catalog, Clear Access gives me a list of tables I'm authorized to access in DB2. Now I select Offices and get a list of columns from the Offices table. As a shortcut, I click on All Columns. Now I run that query and the information is retrieved from DB2. With one more step, I could take this result and move it into Wings. Rather than doing that, I'll do a more complex query so that you can see more of the power of Macintosh and Clear Access for host database inquiry. In the next query, we're going to find out which customers have receivable balances in excess of $20,000. First, I'll select the customer information I'm interested in. Name, credit line, and receivable balance. Now I specify a condition. Receivable balance exceeds $20,000. Even on a Macintosh, you sometimes have to use the keyboard. I'll order the results so that the customer with the highest receivable balance appears on top. Finally, I'll select some additional information about the orders for each of my customers. When I select customer number from orders, Clear Access recognizes a join condition and prompts me for the relationship between customer and orders. They're obviously related by customer number, so we'll select customer number from each table. I'll name this relationship Customers Orders so it can be used again. To make sure we only get one row for each customer, I'll select No Duplicate Rows. Now I run the request. To move the results to Wings, I pull down the Apple menu and use Multifinder to switch to Wings, which is already running in the background. Here's a look at how Data Access Language, Apple's SQL-based connectivity language, works. DAL software is installed on both the client Macintosh and the host. A Macintosh application initiates a database request. DAL in turn submits the request to the host database management system. The results are delivered to the DAL host software, returned over the network, and presented through the end-user application. To access my host with the Claris Query tool, I type in my password. Data Access Language establishes access to the database. Once I've got access, I see a list of collections that the database administrator previously built. The collections indicate the types of information that are available. Today I'm interested in soft drink sales, so I select the soft drink collection. I now see the types of soft drink information that are available to me. To build a query, I click on the information I want, then drag it to the query list. Now I run the query. The tool invisibly builds the query syntax and sends it to the database. The results come back to me in a spreadsheet-like window, as you can see. That was a pretty simple query. Now let's do something a bit more interesting. Say I'm looking at soda sales in a particular region for the last 4 quarters. For each flavor, I'm interested in cases sold and in cases given away. I'm also interested in a field that isn't available in the database. I can create a computed field, Total Cases, by adding cases sold to promotional cases. I label it Total Cases. Another thing that I want to do before running this query is to constrain the flavor. To add constraints, I double-click on Flavor and pick Diet Gamma. I'm also only interested in the regular Diet Gamma. Lastly, I want to constrain my analysis to a particular region, namely the Eastern region. Notice how the query tool helps me by presenting lists to pick from rather than forcing me to type from memory. Now I select the Run command, the results are returned. Often accessing and browsing through remote data is just the first step in analyzing and communicating information. What you'd really like to do is to publish the information in a nice report. I'll use FileMaker 2, a Claris product with great report writing capabilities, to generate a quick yet dynamic report. I'm interested in comparing on a region-by-region basis flavor information, the cases sold, fiscal quarter in which they were sold, and total revenue. I only care about Diet Delta and Diet Gamma, and just the regular products, not the caffeine-free items. I'll have the host sort the information by flavor, then region. Now I run the request. I get a comparison of Diet Delta versus Diet Gamma sales on a region-by-region basis over the last 4 quarters. I'll save the result and bring it into FileMaker. Now I'll open the file in FileMaker and generate a preliminary report. One of the powerful features of FileMaker is the built-in scripts that allow users to run reports automatically. These dynamic report layouts are easy to develop. I'll select the Diet Delta script and generate a report that shows me clearly on a region-by-region basis Diet Delta sales by quarter. I just want to give you a sense for the extraordinary productivity Macintosh provides for database access. I'm now showing you the log of commands I sent off to the host database in the last few minutes.
Polaroid customer service, Bob Norland here. How can I help you?
Polaroid customer service, how may I help you?
Polaroid customer service, Michael Burris. May I help
Polaroid
you?
technical assistant, Susan speaking. May I help you?
At Polaroid Corporation, we were one of the first companies to offer an 800 toll-free number, and we now have over 1.5 million customer contacts a year through our consumer services division. And it's amazing to me how up until a short time ago, people had to depend upon their own memories, banks of notebooks with lots of different literature in them, and had to be able to quickly access the correct information and provide an accurate answer to a customer over the phone.
A year ago, everything was a paper culture. The customer service rep had a telephone, and he had a bookshelf full of 3-ring binders. We looked at this system and decided there could be a better way, and so we computerized it. Our thought was initially, before the Macintosh got involved, that we were going to have to buy another whole VAX. By going with the Macintosh and Ingress and DAL, we were able to use an existing VAX and bring the cost of the total project down by a factor of 4.
To be honest, in the beginning we were skeptical. We put them through the ringers a bit in benchmarking this application. We used all of DEC's performance monitor tools, the software performance monitor, the VAX performance analyzer, gathered as much data as we could, and when we were all through, we rechecked our numbers many times because it came out being about 1/10 of the load of these other type of database applications. And we were really pleasantly surprised that this way of putting the user front end with a graphical interface on the Mac allowed us to use much less VAX horsepower to accomplish the same objective.
The Macintosh does give us a good platform to hooking up to all of our different computers. The DAL language allows the Mac user to hook into Ingress as we're doing currently. DAL is very powerful. There's no real limit on what you can do in a data acquisition sense. It has all of the functionality of SQL, plus it has the communications functionality that allows the user to sit on a Macintosh and communicate effortlessly with the corporate databases.
Being a customer service rep can be very stressful. Talking to the public all day long is a tough job, and adding the Macintosh as a tool to ease the burden, to help the reps' morale, has really helped the area, and it has helped our customers.
It's fully coded and color corrected. The shutter is electronically controlled.
All right, you have the camera there with you?
Could I have your first name, please?
Another feature that the Macintosh has that no other computer at the time had, and really I don't think any other computer still has, is the ability to incorporate graphics and textual data capture. We can put up on the screen a exploded parts diagram, for instance.
It's, let's see here. It says EE100?
Okay, and you want to know if it has a battery or not. Yes, that uses 2 batteries, but let me just see what we've got here.
Okay.
Okay, that will take 2 1.5 volt batteries, and you should be able to find those at your local camera shop.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all I need.
With the Mac,
Okay,
I
then you have a nice day.
can work while talking to the customers. I can be looking up the information, be able to keep the customer on the line, and it does the looking up for me.
I need to know where I can get the back here in the St. Louis area.
Sure, I'll be glad to look that up for you. And
it's been fairly easy to make changes based on the user's requests. I will give them one version of a HyperCard stack, and they use it for a while, and they give me feedback, and I see what I can do to satisfy their request.
okay, I have some very good dealerships in your area.
Okay.
I think HyperCard is very powerful, and it produces a very professional, good-looking screen user interface. So today you're giving me the new stack that has gives the user the ability to vary the search radius, right?
Yes. In this dialog box, for example, and it defaults to 48 miles, and you can change.
I think HyperCard is extremely flexible. I can do whatever I want with it. In the past, I was more part of the enemy camp in a way, giving people systems that they were forced to use. And now I feel more like just a business partner, and I'm just handing over things that they want to use.
We're going to be able to collect data by markets and applications and use it so that we can design more appropriate products for our markets, so that we can in fact design sales and marketing programs that are much more effective in terms of addressing these customers' needs. And I don't believe we could have accomplished this without some of the unique things that are part and parcel of the Apple Macintosh system. It is very user-friendly. It's very flexible. It will allow us to profile a diversity of customers easily.
The Mac is a very good solution for being a window into the corporate mainframe or into the corporate mini-computers. It combines the transparent access to the corporate databases along with a nice, easy-to-use graphical user interface, along with the multitasking capability to pop between different applications. So it was the right tool for the job here.
All right. Thank you for calling us. Bye-bye.
All right, then. Bye-bye.
Very good. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
In Excel, the database functions which are used currently with local Excel data have been extended to allow access to host databases. First, we select Set External Database to connect to the host and open the database. Then I choose the tables I'm going to work with. Offices and Staff. Excel and DAL interrogate the DB2 database catalog and present us with the various items of information associated with each table. To set up query criteria, I do exactly what I do in local Excel databases. I want a list of all reps in the Eastern region, so my criteria is based on region, and I type in Eastern as the constraint. Now I indicate that offices and staff are related by office number. Next, I indicate to Excel the location of my criteria on the worksheet. Now we're going to specify which items of information about reps are of interest. By pasting field names directly from the database catalogs, I specify the fields of information I want to extract and where to place these in the worksheet. For our analysis, I'll select region from offices, staff last name, staff quota, and staff sales. After specifying criteria on the tables and fields of information we wish to see, we're ready to extract data. You don't need to know SQL. Excel generates the query and uses data access language to route the request to the host and return the data. Now I will sort by the last name of each staff member using local Excel capabilities. Finally, I'll chart the information.
Well, the biggest problem that all of the IS managers have is satisfying the broad spectrum of requirements for ad hoc kinds of information and queries. And the great thing about this marriage of the Macintosh and the Excel capabilities is that a user who is familiar with a spreadsheet with Excel can use the same tools that they've already learned, thereby leveraging the investment they've made, and get access to and have control over the information processing that they want to do. That frees up the IS department to do what they do best and allows the user to leverage their skills, their ability, their learning to do the thing that they need to do and the things that they do best.
Codex is a networking solution company. We sell products to multinational customers throughout the world. And the reason why our network is so important to us is to operate in a multinational environment requires fast communications.
The Mac can access the host perhaps easier than a 3270 terminal in some ways. It's a simple double click on a file and you're on the host. And they can exchange files with the file server, and so people on Macs can read IBM files and vice versa. We can now copy and paste between applications on the IBM mainframe and the Macintosh. Basically, we've been able to integrate all the different technologies we have in the company in one environment.
In fact, our strategy is that the single footprint for a terminal on the desk would be the Macintosh. And the communications capability allows us to have access to all the other Macintoshes or IBM PCs in the network, as well as to the IBM mainframe or any other mini computer that we have in the network. So truly, that user has on his desk the capability to access any information in the company.
The futures that I've seen certainly all point to even a closer connectivity with the IBM mainframes, more tools to allow the interchange of data between the Mac and the IBM mainframe. It leverages the investment we've made in the various technologies.
Having the single network with seamless communication among all our computers on a worldwide basis, I think is truly a competitive advantage to us, and not all companies today have that capability.
Hi, I'm Mark Horowitz of Apple Sales and Marketing Systems Development Group. We're using MightumView to put a HyperCard front end on our sales and query system we call SAMS. SAMS stands for Sales and Marketing System, and it was originally developed 8 years ago on a System 38 platform using a 5250 terminal interface. It was recently upgraded to run on an AS400 platform. As Apple Business grew, new back-end functionality was added to SAMS while maintaining the terminal interface. Ultimately, we'll migrate the system to take better advantage of the full cooperative processing capabilities of the Macintosh. But in the meantime, our users are demanding a more Macintosh-like user interface. That's where MightumView comes in. Let me show you what we've done. This is the old SAMS interface. We begin by sending a break command and getting the attention of the IBX. We send a directory command with the destination of SAMS and press return, and we're taken to the password prompt where we enter our user ID and password. And we're on to the system. We send a return from here to get to the option number screen, and we enter an 03 for snapshot and press return. From here, we'll enter 07 for a corporate snapshot. We'll type in the channel, and then we'll send a command 3 to the host to toggle to units, and a command 4 to toggle to non-bundles. And then we send a carriage return. The results will be returned to the terminal window. Now we send a command 1 to back to the main menu, and a command 1, and we're logged off the system, and we quit. Now let's look at the MightumView front end to SAMS. We'll start by closing the window from our previous access, and we'll boot up HyperCard. Now I select the card window and move it up to the top left of the screen to make room for the terminal window when it opens. We come over and click on the Connect button. It'll prompt us for a password where we type it in and hit return. And a graphical logon sequence will tell you the steps that it's doing for logging on, and the terminal window appears on top of the card window. I'll grab it and move it off to the side. HyperCard automatically sends the user ID and password. It mails a copy of the bulletin board to your in-basket, and we're ready to run queries. I click on the Snapshot and Query button, and that positions the host to run snapshot queries. We dial in the parameters for the report we wish to view. We'll choose Corporate, Report Type Product Summary. We pick our channel. We'll view by month, units, non-bundles. Once the parameters of the report are configured, you click on the Run Now button. This is sending the commands to the host, configuring the report selection. It then sends a return, and the result will come back to HyperCard. And so this should give you some idea of how we're using MightumView to extend the life of our sales and query system. Now I'd like to give you a sense of what it's like to actually use the MitemView toolkit to develop a HyperCard application. We'll use the same SAMS terminal session I showed you earlier. To begin with, we click in the terminal window and the MP Edit menu is added to the HyperCard menus. We'll pull down Edit Patterns to display the Edit Patterns menu. From here you can create new patterns or modify existing ones. We'll create a new one. We click in the terminal window, holding the mouse down and dragging over the area that we would like identified. That's called the mask. Underneath it is the data. Those two combined define a pattern. We'll give that pattern a name. We'll call it test. And we set the attributes and click New Pattern button to create the pattern. We then scroll down in the list of patterns to verify that our pattern has been created. We'll also have to define a handler for that, so we'll open our stack script. And I've already created a handler named test that will remove the pattern test so that it's not executed twice, and then we'll display an alert showing that the pattern has been recognized. Now we'll need to create a new button to start the event. So we come over in the Objects menu, pull down New Button, and we'll name this button Test. And I'll pull it down out of the way. Now we'll pull up the Hoop Inspect window to verify that our pattern has been enabled. To do so, we click on the terminal window, we come up on the MP Edit menu and pull down Hoop Inspect. The window appears. Now when we click on the Test button, the pattern Test will be added to the Hoop Inspect window. And then a screen refresh command will be sent to the host, and our pattern will be recognized, and the handler Test will be executed, alerting us that the pattern has been recognized. We come over and click on the Test button. Notice that Test is added to the Hoop Inspect window, and then our pattern is recognized and the alert comes up. In this example, the HyperCard event was a very simple one. We could have just as easily made HyperCard go to a new screen or send data to the host or nearly anything else we wanted to do. As you can see, using MitemView to create graphical front ends is very simple and fast. As a matter of fact, using the Macintosh, MitemView, and HyperCard, it took me less than a month to create a working prototype of the SamsLink application. And it took less than 2 months to deliver the full project. You just can't do that with any other computer.
GE Aerospace builds things that range all the way from tank transmissions all the way on up through satellite systems that are used in both a defense as well as a commercial environment. Aerospace is, at this point, it's about 40,000 people. It's around a $5 billion business. And we're going through a change now where we had 14 different businesses that we're trying to consolidate into one. And we're putting in common computing systems. Prior to the system being implemented, the case really was that every one of these individual businesses out there had their own purchasing process and also had their own way of doing business. One of the requirements for allowing us to do this purchasing system really was not to have to change the host-based application. We built a wide area network that allows all the Macintoshes that the buyers have will be hung off of Ethernet, connected into the central location, and MitemView is the tool that we use to do the terminal emulation so that as far as the Macintosh is concerned, it's talking to a host session via MitemView, and as far as the buyer is concerned, he's sitting there playing with an application running on the Macintosh that they don't really know whether it's on the Macintosh or on the host. I mean, the real goal of the system is to take the buyer and put the buyer in direct contact with the supplier. You know, a supplier calls me on the phone and says, you know, how am I doing? I can turn around and go out and query the system and find out that, yep, I've got, you know, 15 open purchase orders with this supplier. He's behind on these two POs, and he's shipping these other things ahead of time for me. We're actually giving the buyers a good productivity tool because we're able to also wrap the Microsoft Word and the Excel and tie those into the application so we could transfer data across all of those different tools. If we got into this and there wasn't a product like MightenView around, we would have been forced to actually go with the PC environment and kind of gotten half a tool set for these people. They would have gotten a PC-based front end, but nothing else. And I really dread to think what would have happened if we had to develop this in a PC environment.